Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. Oops, I've just clicked past the title screen there. Today's webinar is on exciting virtual activities to end your school year for the 9 to 12 sector. Last week, we did one that was more K to 8 focused. So if you missed that one, definitely check it out on the Teaching and Learning webinar website. But today we're going to focus more on a high school use case. So we're going to get right to it because there's quite a few things that I would like to show you today. All right, so my name is Josie. I am a K-12 success coach here at D2L. So my job is to basically help schools and teachers like yourself to use Brightspace in the best way possible and to support you with your online learning journey. So prior to working with D2L, I was a teacher myself, teaching mostly math and science. I've just put my Twitter handle there at the bottom. So if you don't follow me currently, please give me a follow. I try to post about upcoming webinars and events and also reminders about new released features within Brightspace and those sorts of things. So look forward to connecting with you there. So just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. Today we actually do have our Q&A open. So please, if you do have any questions, you can pop them into the chat pod. I am here with my colleagues, Anita and Bridget, who will be happy to help out. If there's any relevant links to resources and that sort of things that come up throughout the questions, they will post those links into the chat pod for you. And if there's any questions that don't pertain to what we're talking about today that come to mind, please just send those to our successcoach@d2l.com email. We'll be happy to answer those then. But again, if there's any questions about what you're actually seeing today in the webinar, please do pop those questions in. We will leave a few minutes at the end to do a bit of a dedicated Q&A as well. Now, today's webinar might move a little bit quickly because it is a bit more of an intermediate level. If you are a beginner level user, please do not worry. We are attaching lots of resources to sort of bring you up to speed afterwards. But if you do want to go back and look at this webinar again later, as you may have missed something, the recording and the slide deck will be available on the webinar website, as well as emailed directly to you as well. So the agenda, we are going to quickly understand some terms together. I will go through the learning objectives. We will spend most of the time in a live demonstration. I'll show you those resources that I just mentioned before and where you can find those. And we'll end with a bit of a Q&A. Alrighty, so understanding some terms. So just to clarify here, the company that we work for here is called D2L, so that's Desire to Learn. And sometimes that gets confused with the name of our product, which is Brightspace. So just to explain the difference there, so it's similar to how the company Apple has a product iPhone. So our company is D2L and our product is Brightspace. And you may hear us also mention the Brightspace community. So that is a space online that is free to register, where there's lots of resources, documentation. You can ask questions to other Brightspace users, as well as to other D2Lers that are on there as well. So it's a really great free resource for you to explore. Okay, so the learning objectives for today. So as you know, today's webinar is around some activities that you can do with your class this time of year, as we're sort of wrapping up. And it's going to focus on how you can make this a little bit more exciting and fun, despite potentially being fully remote at the moment. So we're going to start off by looking at the survey tool and how we can use that tool to gather some feedback from our students to give them a voice about how they felt on your course. And secondly, we're going to look at something a little bit more interactive and fun. And we're going to sort of piece those last few tools together. So we're going to see how we can use a custom widget to create this activity and then pair that with a checklist and a discussion to really round out this activity and make it a little bit more interactive for your students and give them a bit of healthy competition as well. So this activity can be as simple or as complex as you would like it to be. So I'll show you a few of those sort of modifications, if you will, as we go along. So again, if you are a beginner, please do not fret. I will show you again those resources, those more step-by-step basics, where you can find those towards the end. All right, so I'm just going to jump into my learning environment here and we can get started on the demonstration. So as you might notice, my course here will probably look quite different to yours, and that is completely okay. Brightspace is very customizable, as you may know, so your nav bar and your homepage will look a little bit different. Just as a reminder, as always, if there is something that you would like to add to your nav bar or remove or change, you can always click on the three dots here, and that'll take you to your edit screen for your nav bar. And also, all of your tools that you have access to will be available in the course admin button. So if you're looking for something here and it's not there, click on course admin and you'll be able to find that tool if you do have access to it there. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is check out that survey tool. So I really like looking at the survey tool this time of year because this is a time when we can sort of gather that feedback as we start thinking about planning our courses for the next school year, and student feedback is so important towards that process. So I'm just going to click on the tool there. And that's going to bring me to my surveys homepage here. So as you can see, I've got one created already, but we're going to actually walk through the creation of a new survey. So to do that, I'm going to start by clicking on the big blue new survey button. And there's quite a few different options and sort of ways to set surveys up, as with many of the tools within Brightspace, but we're going to keep it really simple today and just show you how you can put together a super quick survey to send out to your class. So we do have to give it a name. So I'm just going to pop in the 2021 feedback survey there. And we're just going to skip down to the other sort of mandatory field here, which would be to add your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Add Edit Questions button. And for those of you who have used the quizzes tool before, might see that this is quite familiar. So we have either new or import. So similar to when we are creating a quiz, we can either import questions from a file or question library or the learning repository. Just as a bit of a note here, we do recommend, if at all possible, always using the question library within Brightspace, simply because if you create your questions ahead of time in the question library, they can be saved, copied, shared. You'll have those forever. So create them once and have them forever. So a bit of time saving there for you. But if you are just creating something on the fly like I am today, we can definitely just go ahead and click new. And you'll see that I have quite a few different question options here. So again, similar to the quizzes tool, however, we do have an additional type of question when we're looking at surveys, and that is our Likert question. So that's the one I wanted to show you today. And the Likert type question is more of that traditional type survey question where your students can respond on a bit of a scale here. So I'm just going to walk through to show you how this sort of works. So we can add a title to the question if you like. It is optional. I'm going to skip that for today and go right to the introductory text. So this is sort of introducing your question here. So my question that I'd like to pose my class is around feedback for the year. So please provide honest feedback for Miss M's class this year. Okay, and then down here is where I'm going to select my scale. So maybe you want to have your students rate on a number scale, or these are sort of cool as well. So, how often did you use blank resource? Never to always. Today, I'm just going to demonstrate the more standard one, which is the disagree to agree scale. And then down here is where you're actually going to place your statements. So what are your students going to disagree or agree to? So I'm just running off screen here, sorry, to copy and paste some examples that I have already written just to save a bit of time. I'm simply going to click in here and paste that one. So the first one I have is, I felt that the workload was manageable for this year. So your students are going to be able to either agree or disagree on that on a bit of a sliding scale. And I'll actually show you what this looks like in a moment. So I know it looks a little bit funny in the edit screen, but it'll all come together when we look at the preview. In my second one here, just so we can see what it looks like when there are more than one in a question, is I was able to get support when I needed it. Okay. Before we go ahead and preview what this question is going to look like, I just wanted to point out that this box here is actually the Brightspace editor. So this box does follow you around with your different tools within Brightspace. And it's in a sort of small condensed form right now. But if I click on these arrows here, it's going to expand into a larger editing screen. And now I can easily see what sort of formatting options, media, I can add images, all sorts of things in here. So if you're being a little bit more creative with your survey and you wanted to add in some of those pieces, you can definitely do so just by expanding that box and having a bit of a play around there. If you wanted to add more options, you can do so by clicking the Add Option button. And if you make a mistake, you can always click the little trash can and it will delete that option. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click Preview so that you can see what the question looks like. And I do always recommend doing this for these sorts of questions, as they can look a little bit different from the edit backend screen to what your students would see in the survey. So as you can see here, students would be able to select their responses on this scale here. Okay, so I'm just going to click Done. I'm going to simply save that one. And we are done editing our questions for today. Okay, and that takes you back to the sort of home edit screen there. And we're going to finish up and save and close that survey. Okay, so it's saved successfully. A couple of things I wanted to note here before we move on. As a default, your surveys will actually default to hidden. So that's what this little eye here with the line through is. So if we want to make this available to our students so they can actually see and complete this survey, you just need to click on this little chevron button and click Make Visible to Users. So if you are either sending them to the survey page or attaching the survey to an activity post or an announcement, you're going to want to make sure that it is visible first before they head there, because otherwise they won't be able to see that survey. So lastly here, when students have actually submitted their survey responses, obviously I don't have any responses to show you yet for this new one, but I do have a couple I can show you here. To find those, you would just click on, again, this little chevron and go to the statistics button. And this is probably my favorite part about this tool, is you can see the students that have submitted their responses here, as well as the attempts, and you can sort of click in and really deep dive into those specific questions and who of a particular student. However, you can also click this View Overall Results button. So if you are trying to get an overall snapshot of how your students felt throughout the year, but you don't want to go through each individual response sort of on their own and sort of tease through that that way, this is a great way to see that overall sort of picture of how your students responded. So really great sort of time-saving tool for you, and a really great reason to actually complete this sort of activity using the surveys tool rather than like a hard copy, for example. I really, really like this function. Okay, so we're going to leave our surveys there for now, and we're going to get to our sort of fun interactive activity that we've been talking about. So I'm just going to jump back into my homepage by clicking on the name of my course. And this activity that you see here is what we're going to explore today. So this is actually a custom widget that I've created on my homepage. And I've inserted a Google slide into the custom widget. So again, if you're not sure how to do this, don't worry at all. We are going to provide step-by-step videos as well as slides that have sort of a recipe of how to achieve this afterwards. So for now, sit back and get some inspiration, but the step-by-step stuff is coming, don't you worry. But really, this is just creating a Google slide and popping that into a custom widget and then placing it on my homepage here. And how this works is I would probably sort of explain to my class that we're doing a bit of an end of the year challenge to celebrate a successful year, and we're going to have a bit of fun. You can sort of frame this in any way that you like. But I've chosen to sort of put external activities such as Sudokus, a yoga video, a bit of drawing on MS Paint. So as you can see, if I click here, these are all live links. So that one's going to take me to my Sudoku page. This one's a YouTube video. MS Paint in here that they can draw in. So external links as well as links inside the course. So I have a bit of a poem here, a bit of a rap that they can write, and also an interactive game. And if they were to click on these ones, it's going to take them to a discussion within my course. So again, if you want to sort of go full on into this type of activity and sort of put lots of different things they can do in there, that's great. Otherwise, maybe you just want to do a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, and it's 3 external really easy activities, totally up to you. I just wanted to show a lot of different types of activities you could put in here, just for that variety. And maybe you're thinking, okay, great, a brain break for my students just to add a little bit of fun in the day, but potentially you want to do a little bit more. So I have shown how you could input also a checklist here so that they can track their activity, maybe have a bit of healthy competition. And also I've shown how to put a discussion forum in here. So this is a way to have students interact with one another about what they're doing within their activities, a place where you can do something like a 2 truths and 1 lie, so a bit of an interactive game as well. Again, totally optional, but I'm going to show you what both of these look like if you do choose to do something like this. So we'll start with the checklist. And the checklist tool is interesting because it is quite different from the instructor view to the student view. So if I click on this as an instructor, it is going to take me to the back end editing page. So what I'm going to do first, just so I can show you what it looks like as a student, is head over to my profile here and click View as Student. So at any point in your course, you can use this sort of trick to view what a student will see when they're looking at your course. So now if I go ahead and click on the checklist button, I can see the checklist that I, as the teacher, have already created inside of here. So I've already built out week 1, as you can see. I've added in a bit of an instruction, a link to the discussion topic as well, just for ease of access. I've put in a bit of a screenshot here so that they can make that connection and just remember what week 1 even looks like. And then what I've done here is I've manually added in some points as well, just for a bit of that healthy competition, a bit of fun, just to see how many points they could rack up over the month. I'll show you how I actually put this together when we head back into that instructor view, but I wanted to show you what that would look like for a student. Okay, so I'm just going to actually exit my student view. So to do that, I just click up here in my profile and the little X button there. Okay, so now I'm back viewing as myself, and I'm just going to go back into that checklist so we can see what that looks like. So it's brought me into the edit version of the checklist here. And if I scroll down here, I've already got, as we saw in the student view, some of this built out. So how checklists are organized, we have categories and items. So categories are these parent level sort of sections here, so to speak. And it's just a way to organize that checklist out nicely for you. So I've used my weeks as my categories. And then inside those, I'll have my items, which are the actual items that I would like my students to tick off. And if you've made an error, would like to edit one of these, you would simply just click on it, and that will take you back to your edit screen for that particular item. To create a new one, you would either click new category or new item. So I'm just going to quickly walk through the new item option here, just to give you a bit of a tour what that looks like. So I'm in my new item, and potentially I'm starting my week 2 checklist. So I would click on week 2. If you hadn't created your category yet, you can click on that new category button. And then in the name is where I've put my, my checklist title. So maybe week 2 has a crossword puzzle on Monday. And as you can see here, this is how I've just manually typed in some points to create that sort of point system. You could also definitely pop the points in the description if you like. I wanted to keep mine nice and sort of clean and neat and leave out the description for this one. But again, that's totally up to you if you would like to play around with that. It would just simply appear underneath the title or the name of this checklist item. Okay, And we're just going to click save. And there we have it. We will see our new item down here. Alrighty, I'm just going to close out of this now and head back again to my home screen, because I definitely want to make sure we have enough time for some questions at the end. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how we can use a discussion forum to, again, create that space for students to share and talk about these activities and have a bit of fun. So I'll do a bit of a tour of the discussions tool. I have already built this out ahead of time just so you can sort of see where we're going with this idea. I didn't have enough time to totally build it from scratch on our webinar today, but that is what those extra resources are for that we'll send through after. So if I clicked into my hyperlink here, it will take me to this specific week 1 discussion topic, but I'm actually just going to jump into the discussions tool parent page because I do want to show you what this looks like from the top. So this is the discussions homepage here, and how discussions are organized is in forums and then in topics. So I've already created my Miss M's end of the year challenge forum, and inside of that I have my week 1 topic. So once I'm ready for week 2, I could create a new topic by clicking this new and then new topic button, and that will insert a new topic under here. And as you can see, I have other forums and topics that I've already built out on this page. So this again is just how the discussions page is organized here. So inside topics, we have threads and then replies. So if we think about a forum is like a filing cabinet, a topic would be like a folder inside of that filing cabinet, and a thread would be like a piece of paper or an assignment inside of that folder. And then we would have sort of our comments and replies on that assignment inside. So I'm just going to jump into my week 1 here. And just as a reminder too, back to our actual widget here, if I were to click on this, I would have been brought right into this week 1 page because that's what I had decided I would like my students to be brought right into where they need to be. So for the description, I've put in a bit of an instruction as well. Again, I just like to have images wherever possible. So a bit of a screenshot there just as a reminder of the entire week so that they don't need to click back and forth. And underneath here, this was a sort of personal decision I made in terms of organization. So I actually decided to pre-create threads that pertain to each day of the week so that students can find the thread that they're looking for. Maybe they did the Tuesday poem wrap and they want to share that. They would click in here and reply to this thread. Okay, so sometimes when we are doing discussions, you wouldn't actually create these ahead of time. You would just have students come in and create their own thread and sort of post the response that way in their own thread. But this is just another way to sort of organize this so that you don't have a whole bunch of students posting, Sudoku, Sudoku, Sudoku. I just thought it would be nice to have it all organized out in this way. Again, that is a total personal preference here. Either or is absolutely fine. So I created these threads ahead of time just by clicking start a new thread. And I did that 5 times over and titled them sort of the same title as what was in the challenge poster here. And a student would come into this page. And again, if they're looking for that poem or rap spot, click on that thread. And they would simply just click reply to thread. Okay, and they can either type their answer in here. Maybe they want to provide an image. They could put a video note in here by going into insert stuff, video note, which is a way to record yourself speaking or rapping that poem. And I'm just going to copy and paste my very creative poem here, just to show you what that looks like, and click post. Okay, and if I was a student, this is sort of what that would look like. My post would show underneath here. And other students can come in and also reply to this thread, and they will just sort of stack up underneath. One thing I really like too about the discussions tool is if I'm a teacher or maybe I'm a classmate and I want to respond to a particular post. So I think this is a really cool poem and I want to say something about it to that person. I can click reply And my reply would actually be in line with this post. So it's going to attach right in here. So again, as a teacher providing feedback or encouragement in this case, or more of a fun activity, or a classmate wanting to respond to someone else, you can simply do that reply button there and it keeps it all nice together in one conversation. Okay, so I'm actually just going to go back into my presentation here. And sometimes it doesn't like me when I go back into my presentation. There we go. There we go. So the learning objectives. So again, we really looked at creating a survey today, more of a step-by-step way to do that, to gather feedback from students on how the year's gone. And then we did more of a tour or showcase of what you could do with a custom widget checklist or discussion today. So I just want to, before we move on to the Q&A, show you exactly where you can find those resources. And there's also the reminders about the webinar calendar in here as well. So we've got 2 more coming up this month. So definitely check those out. So these are the resources that directly pertain to what we looked at today. So this one that's creating a Bitmoji classroom. It's called Bitmoji Classroom, but it's really just showing you how to create that Google slide with those live links and pop that into your homepage in a widget. So I've just put a reminder there that those are the same instructions as creating an interactive activity widget. And then as you can see, there's other videos here if you're more of a visual person to sort of learn about those tools that we looked at. And I quickly just wanted to show you as well that we've included these slides. So maybe you just are in a rush and you want to quickly take a look at the steps this way. I've just added those in there. So we have how to create that Google slide, creating the custom widget, and then also how to add it to your page. A bit more about the surveys tool as a reminder, the checklist tool, and just some additional examples of when you would use those tools, and also a bit of a visual on how to organize your discussions tool. And I think we've left just a couple minutes for Q&A. 3 minutes. Okay. How are we doing? Anita and Bridget.
There's no questions right now. We were able to get some of them answered in the pod as you were working through. So if you do have any questions, please put those into the Q&A pod. And we can help get those answered for you. And Josie can show off how to do those. Maybe Josie, as we're just waiting, if you want to show quickly how to add a widget to your homepage. I know that's a common one that we get.
Sure. Yep. So if you want to add a widget to your homepage, you do just need to scroll all the way down to the bottom. For some of us, it might be really far away down to the bottom. I think I actually need to refresh my page. Sorry, because it's not loading properly. Probably helps if I close some of these tabs. There we go. And you'll see this little ellipses here. So in here, you can actually sort of customize your homepage. And I'm just going to go ahead and go into the edit page. So this is where I added my custom widget to the homepage. So when you are creating a homepage, you always want to make sure that it is a copy as well. So maybe I should actually just demonstrate that first. Sorry, just to be clear. So when I go into this little ellipses, I'm going to go into manage homepages. Okay. And here you probably want to make a copy of your current homepage when you're sort of playing around and adding widgets, just so that way you can always go back to sort of the way you had it before. It's just a little bit of a sort of a safe trick that we always recommend here. And to do that, you would select a homepage and click copy. So I've already done that to my sort of default homepage here and created my grade 8 homepage. So a bit of a disclaimer, it's a good best practice to follow there. And when you're in your copy of your homepage, you would just go into edit. And down here is where you can sort of play around with all of your widgets and how they're arranged on the homepage. So I've chosen this layout, so you can always change your layout as well. So if you just wanted like one big panel or 2 panels, etc. So I've chosen the one that's going to have my challenge at the top like this with some sort of columned panels underneath. And to add the widget to your homepage, you would click Add Widget. And inside here is all of the sort of automatic widgets that you have access to through the system. And in here are the custom widgets. So probably don't have time to show you how to create the custom widget today, but those instructions are definitely available to you in the resources. And inside here, I see I've got a Bitmoji classroom, I've got an end of the year challenge. So there's a few different custom ones there. So you click on that and that would appear just there for you. I don't want 2 of these widgets on my homepage, so I am going to cancel out of that. But that is what that's the basic process for getting a widget on your homepage there. Is there any other questions we wanted to run through before we finish up today?
That was great, Josie. Thank you so much for showing that.
Not a worry. All right, well, the time is showing 4:30. So again, if you have any questions that you think about afterwards, definitely email us at the Success Coach email address. And please do register for those 2 exciting webinars coming up later this month. And we will see you all on Twitter in between then. Thank you very much and have a good rest of the day, everyone.